Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. When I have an Android phone, Samsung, so what are the possibilities that I can explore about the usage of this machine? So I go to an Apple store and buy a manual for operating the iPhone. And with that manual, I want to see how best I can use this Android phone. Will it not be the height of foolishness? If I have to use this machine fully, any machine, I must study the manual first. Normally you will see, like this Samsung Note 5. It has got so many functions. We spend a lot of money on this. But ultimately what we use it for? Only receiving the free calls, that's it. If that is the only purpose, why waste so much money on this machine? Exactly the same way. Human life is like the most advanced device given to us. See? If you look at the inert world, which is nothing but stones and bricks and mountains and rivers, you will see only existence in them. Then we leave that and come to the next stage in evolution. We come to the plant kingdom. In plant kingdom, there is more evolution. So in addition to existence, there is life also. Then we come to the third stage. We come to the animal kingdom. In animal kingdom, there is existence, there is life, there is knowledge. Animals know. You must have seen sometime the dogs eat grass. When they eat grass, there is something wrong with their stomach. So they themselves go, they don't have to go to the doctor. And by that they bring out what they have eaten. So animals have knowledge also in addition to existence and life. Now we are human beings. So there must be something additional. Otherwise we cannot be human beings. Darwinically speaking, we are animals. According to Darwin, we are animals. And it is true to some extent. If you see the whole world, we are living like animals. Eating, sleeping, all the time worried about the insurance, insecurity and procreation. Other than these four things, what we have achieved as a human being in this form? Nothing. Then what makes us human being? We are human being because there is one additional factor. So we exist, stones and bricks, we live life, plants, we have knowledge, animals. One more, we must be an instrument of expression of happiness. If happiness is not expressed through us, we will fall down at the lower level of evolution. Now, the second thing. Whatever we do in our life, or whatever we do not do in our life, What is the purpose that we do something or we don't do something? So, some people eat a lot of food for what? For becoming happy. Nobody eats the food for becoming miserable. They become, that's a different issue. Purpose is to become happy. Some people observe fast. That fast observation is also for getting happiness. Some people get married for getting happiness. Some people divorce for getting happiness. See, some people go buy a posh car to get happiness. Other people, they take a bicycle in that hot sun and keep on running. For what? They are not suffering. We enjoy. They are suffering? No, they are happy. In short, there are two expressions of life. Get me water. There are two expressions of life. One expression is involvement. Second expression is withdrawal. This involvement and withdrawal is constantly going on. Pandit ji, switch off this fan. The air goes directly into my ear and it triggers the cough. So, whatever we are doing or not doing, it is for getting happiness. This is our life. And there are these two aspects of our life. One is involvement, second is withdrawal. We get identified with the body, rise, get up in the morning, get involved in this world, do something good or bad, only for getting happiness. And by the end of the day, we are damn tired, and thereafter we again go to deep sleep. So whole day we have struggled to get happiness by doing. And we get tired. And then we enter deep sleep. After we enter deep sleep, we sleep for say 8 hours. Be attentive. After sleeping for 8 hours, has anybody ever said that I have been sleeping for 8 hours, I am damn tired, I want to again take rest? No. So what exactly has happened? See, in that deep sleep, our struggle to get happiness was zero. So what should be the lifestyle? Don't struggle in life. Live intelligently. Intelligent people are those who are never miserable. Intellectuals are those, they are always miserable. Not only that, but they justify that under these conditions, anybody will be miserable and I am that. See, friends, therefore, this instrument of intellect makes us different from the total creation. And if this intellect is properly used, it is an asset. If the same intellect is wrongly used, it is a liability. See, therefore, if we want to utilize this intellect as an asset, we must know the usage and how it can be done. So like the example I gave you, if I want to use any device, I cannot go on imagining myself. I have to study that manual properly, understand all the points, and thereafter apply it in our life so the instrument can be fully utilized. Exactly the same way. See, what is human life? What are the problems of human life? And how they can be sorted out is not available in any other book which is written by human beings. See, friends, Bhagavad Gita is not attributed to any person. See, it is the declaration of the Lord Himself, who is the creator of this world. Therefore, you will not see anywhere new edition of Bhagavad Gita, improved edition of Bhagavad Gita. No. Thousands of years have gone, it is the same 700 verses. And nowhere it is mentioned, it is for Hindus. Like, this mobile phone produced by the Koreans. So will it be said, this phone is meant only for Koreans? No. In the same manner, let us take the law of gravity attributed to Newton. Should we say law of gravity is applicable only on Britishers? It will not be applied on the other human beings? No. It is a universal phenomena without any particular group of people. See, friends. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins with a common problem in our life. And the common problem is I versus you. See? This I versus you is such a terrible problem that it divides the whole world. Families are divided only on this basis. I versus you. So, this I versus you is the problem which is labeled as mamata or possessiveness. See, friends, there are two words. One is possessiveness and second is belonging. When we are possessive, we carry the burden. When we belong, we undo the burden. One example I'll give you. This happened in Sri Lanka. When there was insurgency going on over there, one lady, she came to India and we were having some satsang like this. She told her story. She said, me and my sister, we were going by a bus. And those people came with the guns and told everybody, get down out of the bus and carry your luggage. So everybody got down. When you see the guns, you have no wisdom, simply listen. So everybody got down with the luggage and her sister, there was one bag, nobody lifted it. So this dumb girl, she thought somebody might have forgotten. When it is not required, why do you think? See, all the problems begin because of unwanted thinking. See, friends, and this unwanted thinking is the cause of miseries for human beings. And this unwanted thinking, we have never worked on it. Then arrest this. No need. What our mind can think, even our enemy cannot think about us. Suppose you are told that, okay, I will come by about 8 o'clock evening. I will be starting from here, morning 6 o'clock. Whole day I have to drive, but I am sure, according to GPS, I will reach there by 8 o'clock in the evening. And 8 o'clock is over, 8:30 is over, 9 is over. There is no phone call, there is no connection. Immediately our mind starts thinking, oh God, he is not even connected. Everything is okay or not? Is there an accident? Has a truck run over him? And we start seeing all that which is nowhere. And in that frustration, you are so disgusted. Oh God, oh God, oh God. And in that frustration, the bell rings. You have come. Now, who made you miserable? This uncontrolled thinking. Bhagavad Gita tells, friends, we have to learn the art of thinking. This we understand. If we have to prepare chapati, we have to learn. If we have to drive a car, we have to learn. If we have to ride, we have to learn A, B, C, D. Everything we have to learn. But when it comes to thinking, we have never accepted this principle that we have to learn thinking. Our understanding is, because there are thoughts in my mind, therefore I am a thinker. See, friends, forest and the garden, both the places there are plants. When we go to the forest, we are afraid. When we go to the garden, we are happy. Now what is the difference? Both the places, only trees. In the forest, the trees are wild way growth. Any tree will come out anywhere, and in that hodgepodge, all wild animals are hidden. But when we go to a garden, in that garden, every plant is selected, planted, trimmed, manured, protected, irrigated. So much care is taken. As a result, when we go to the garden, it is an happy experience. But when we go to the forest, it is a fearful experience. Is it not true in our case? We are all afraid of our own mind. Because our mind is like a forest. So, what we do? We run away from the forest. And how do we run away from our mind? We want constant support. See? So either we put the buds in our ears and all the time, ding, 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 ding. We can't stay without a company. Or else we want a book to read. Or we want to do something. Because we are fed up of our own mind. Our mind is like a forest. See, friends, I met one gentleman, very dedicated, intelligent, well-read scriptures. He has studied Gita, Upanishad, everything, very deeply. And he was asking me some questions. I said, if you ask me, I'll tell you, if you are ready to listen, but no discussion, no argument. He said, okay, Swamiji. I told him, you are suffering from excessive study indigestion. Now stop studying everything. You have got enough knowledge. Now apply that knowledge in your life. It is something like, if a bird has to fly high in the sky, the bird requires equally developed two wings. If one wing is normal, other wing is small or weak, the bird cannot fly. In the same manner, knowledge is gained through study of Bhagavad Gita. But have we ever applied it in our life? When the knowledge is not applied in one's life, it becomes philosophy. And philosophers are a source of wisdom for others. But as regards their own life is concerned, they are a utter failure. See, friends. So I told my friend, I said, look here, you have studied sufficiently. Now, try to apply that knowledge in your life. See? Now, what is the study Bhagavad Gita tells us? First, the problem of human life is only one, and that is identity crisis. Who am I? The moment you establish correctly our identity, subsequent things are taken care of. See? For example, the father and the children. When the father remembers he is a father and he knows very well, he is not required to be told what is the duty towards the children. He knows it. If it is a teacher and he knows he is a teacher, he will know what is his duty towards the students. If it is a mother, the mother knows what is her duty towards the children. There is no problem. But what happens? For a fraction of moment, we forget that. And that fraction of moment is enough to create all the chaos in our life. See, friends. One day, one lady, she asked me this question. Swamiji, I don't know how to sort out this problem. I said, what happened? The problem is, I fought with my in-laws and I told my husband, either they live in our house or I live. And then I went out. Now I am regretting. Why did I do that? What should I do? I said, Mama, you are a good person. Straight away go and call them back. Falling in life is not a crime. When you fall, you should have the magnanimity to get up. Just start walking. The same thing happens to Arjun in the first chapter. He got confused. Who is he on the battlefield? Whether he is a warrior or a relation or a disciple. And because of this confusion, he was not able to decide what to do. So when he read Bhagavad Gita or heard Bhagavad Gita directly from the mouth of Bhagavan Krishna, at the end he clearly confesses, O Lord, my doubt is gone. About what? About my identity. On the battlefield, I am only a warrior and nobody. Now be attentive. We all have to play many roles in life. See, I as a man had to play the role of a son, of a husband, of a father, of a brother-in-law, father-in-law. So many roles I had to play. So we play each role perfectly, and while playing that role, we must remember that we are essentially playing this role. Don't get entangled, rolled up in that role. But this is what exactly happens in life. We get so much overpowered by any role that we are playing. Before that, all other roles become secondary. See, friends. Therefore, if we have this art, that whatever role we have to play, we play perfectly. Is it possible? It is possible. Now, how that can be done? Be attentive. Bhagavad Gita in second chapter tells in one verse this technique. And those who know Gita, they know it very well. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sanghastu akarmani. 4 principles are told. First principle is, We all have to live in the present. We cannot live yesterday, we cannot live tomorrow. We have to live in the present. Second thing, all activities of our life, they are done now. Third, if all the activities are done to express happiness, you have learned Bhagavad Gita. But many times what happens? We do the things, instead of expressing happiness, we struggle to get happiness through action. No. How simple it is. Whatever we are doing is done only to express happiness. The net result will be, you remain in the present, and in the present you are happy. See? Try this principle. Make a firm commitment to yourself. I will be happy only today. That's it. Not tomorrow. We do the other way. Okay, from tomorrow I will be happy. It will never come. We have to be happy only one day in our lifetime, and that is today. And how to remain happy? Number one, no complaints. No complaint about anything in this world. See, friends, we have complained about everything. If everything is okay, complain about God. Oh God, why did you create this world? God says, only to trouble you. Try this simple technique. This is what Bhagavad Gita tells. It's common for everyone. We have no complaints about anything or anybody. As age grows, we become old, we become expert in complaining. Old people have all the complaints about everything in this world. The first thing they do, they complain about the youngsters. Oh, youngsters are these days very bad. When you were young, what were you? See, friends, this habit of complaining is the cause of miseries in life. So, karmanyevadhikaraste, a simple principle. Whatever role you have to play that role happily. Number one. Number two, ma phaleshu kadachana means do not expect anything in return. If I do this, I will get that, and thereafter I will be happy. So what we do unknowingly, we are postponing our own happiness in the future period of time. So, if we are postponing our own happiness in future period of time, we can never be happy in life. So only simple thing. When you get up in the morning, stand before the mirror and say, I have no complaint about anything, anybody, and today is my happiest day. With this mode, begin your day. See? I am not giving any mala in your hand. Nothing. Very simple. Insist. Then, ma karma phala heturbhu. Third principle. Let us not have that wrong notion. Because of us, the world is moving. See, friends, we all know our parents, our grandparents, some of us know great-grandparents. Before that, third, fourth generation, we know nothing. They have come and gone. What difference it made to us? When we were not in this world, there was nothing lacking. When we leave this world, there will be nothing lacking. If you don't trust, leave and see. There's nothing lacking in this. But we have this wrong notion. Because of me, the world is moving. And we suffer. See, friends. Therefore, be active, dynamically, happily, cheerfully, productive way. No question of retirement in life. Study scriptures and then start applying them on your own life. So the gentleman to whom I was telling that two things are required like the bird has two wings. One is knowledge, second is action. If there is only knowledge, no action, we become philosophers. If there is only action, no knowledge, we become crooks. Both are bad things. So what is required? Now be attentive. I'll tell you very subtle way. If two lines are drawn from the same point, those two lines cannot be parallel. They will always have some angle. Like these two fingers come out of my palm. Palm is one. Now these two fingers come out with an angle. Now be attentive. As the distance from the origin starts increasing, imagine this finger has grown 20 feet and this finger has grown 20 feet. The distance between these two will start widening. When knowledge is not manifested in action, and when actions are not supporting the knowledge, our personality gets disintegrated. Integration of a personality means knowledge and action, they support each other. For example, all of us know anger is bad, and yet we become angry. So the knowledge anger is bad is not manifested in action. See, friends, in this manner, what is required is both knowledge and action. They must support each other. So the knowledge, those who study Upanishad, Gita, etc., they are told, first principle Bhagavad Gita tells, you are divine, you are not a devil. You are divine, you are God. Don't seek that God anywhere. It's you. Come on, how can I be God? See? Then I told my friend, I said, look here, when we go to the doctor, we don't tell the doctor what disease I have. And the doctor also doesn't ask us what disease you have. Then we simply tell the doctor the symptoms. From the symptoms, doctor arrives at the name of the disease, this is the disease. So from the effect, we go to the cause. Now, as Bhagavad Gita tells, you are divine. Now what are the symptoms of being divine? Find out. This topic is dealt with in Gita in 3 places. In 2nd chapter, in 12th chapter and 14th chapter. In the 2nd chapter it is said, when we lead a life of steady wisdom, there is no confusion, wisdom is not corrupted, steady wisdom. So when the wisdom is steady, what happens? First step, we are no more slaves of our own desires. Now be attentive. Spiritual life or study of Bhagavad Gita means We have to learn from our own experiences of life. If we don't learn from our experiences of life, even God cannot teach us. So what we have to learn? Right from childhood till date, if we have to write our biography in one line, what we have done till date? Only one thing: unsuccessful effort to fulfill our desires. Right from childhood, how many desires we have fulfilled? When we were kids, we wanted games. Then when we grew up, we wanted this, we wanted that. And in the old days, there also we want others to listen to us. Our desires have no end. So if somebody is abiding in the divine, the first symptom is he is free from the burden of desires. See, friends. And don't only accept because it is said. Now find out in your own experience. What is that because of which we are so happy and at peace in deep sleep? What is the reason? On the contrary, in deep sleep we have nothing. We are nobody. And we desire nothing. Then we are happy. So if we can extend the experience of deep sleep into the waking, so we live in this world cheerfully, happily, without carrying the burden of desires. I want this, I want that. No, let the things happen as they are happening. Fulfill your obligations to the world, to the people around you, and never forget to relax. Every now and then we have to remind ourselves, relax, relax. But we are all the time tense. Because we have not learned from our experiences. So if Bhagavad Gita tells we are divine, then what are the symptoms of divinity? First thing is this: we no more carry the burden of desires. Now start finding how the desires are born. Where are the locations of the desire? Where is the desire located? See? Can we show desire as an object? No. Gita tells, desire operates from three places. One is the sense organs, second is the mind, and third is the intellect. So you will see most of us are obsessed with a particular type of thing. Take for example food. If I am a South Indian, then I must have curd rice and a lemon pickle in the evening. I must have it. Without that, what a food? If I am a Gujju means Gujarati, I must have dhokla. Without that, what food? If I am a Punjabi, I must have paratha. See, friends, we become slave to our sense organs. Then, if the ticklings of the sense organs are not fulfilled, we become angry. About this, I'll give an example. I was in one of my friend's house, and he is a Marwari by lifestyle. And in Marwari houses, the ladies don't cook, the gents cook. And they are appointed servants. So, me and my friend were sitting together. On the floor we had to sit. And it so happened that the food was having some problem. Like the dal had more salt and it was little burnt type, something like that. And this person, my friend, he became so angry. He just threw that plate and walked away. Why? The food is bad. See? Is he human being or animal? Next day again we sat for taking food. That day the food was best. No possibility of complaints. Again he became angry. When you could prepare such good food today, why didn't you prepare yesterday? Are? Can't we learn to remain cool? See, friends, the highest spiritual practice according to Bhagavad Gita is be at peace with yourself. Ashantasya kutas sukham. When we act, we are at peace. When we react, we are in pieces. Think. Therefore, friends, the Bhagavad Gita's approach is this. Learn from your experiences, and as you start learning, you will naturally start migrating towards your divinity. So, the symptoms of God expressing through us is steady wisdom, no more burden of desire, no more issue of honor and dishonor, no more obsession of having things according to our own way. When these things happen, we are nearing our divine nature. That is spiritual practice. Not taking the mala in the hand and suffering silently. No. We have to lead this life 24/7, not once in a while. In this manner, when we start leading our life, slowly the change starts coming in us. So, first we study Bhagavad Gita, then interact with that knowledge intelligently, not intellectually, and then try to experience that knowledge. When these three things are happened together, then Bhagavad Gita will be lifted from the book to the brain, and from the brain to the heart, and from the heart it will come in our life. This is possible for every one of us. It is not a big deal. It is possible provided we are committed to this. Therefore, the angle with which we look at the world or life is this angle. Knowledge must be expressed in action. Actions must be representation of the knowledge. These two things happen, our personality gets integrated. And when personality is integrated, you are at peace. And what is most important in life, we are at peace. Don't worry about the whole world. We have not created this world. We are not responsible for improving the world. Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say something very good thing. All those who have come to save this world, saviors, all those who have come to save this world, they were shaved off. The world is like this. So we are here for our evolution. And evolution is possible when we are at peace with ourselves. With this angle, with this standpoint, when we lead our life, we are the real practitioner of the philosophy and wisdom of Gita in our life. If not, never mind. Not in this life, next life. This is one benefit of being Hindu. If not in this life, never mind, next life. If you miss this flight, never mind, next flight. So, take life lightly and be happy. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.